What's up, my good peoples? Welcome to the Be Transformed podcast, where we're talking about ideas that stimulate wholesome thinking into identity, purpose, vision, and action. I am James Anderson, and with me is Logan Eaton, Carolyn Anderson, and my man, Brian Wiles. What's happening?
Not much.
Not much
at all. Fall is happening.
Fall is happening? Nice.
You do that. I thought that was like a pre-recorded thing. You do that new every episode? That's impressive.
Every episode.
Man, that was like
sounded such the
yeah,
same.
it sounded so like professional. I thought it was like, they have like those pre-recorded little snippets. Dude.
Yeah.
I just learned something new and got impressed from the moment this thing started. That was great.
That is great.
I have to script mine though. When you say what's up, I'm always like, not much.
It's true.
Yeah.
Cheat sheet.
Yeah.
It's very true.
When there's a lot, I gotta pull up my sleeve and read off the words I wrote down.
That's hilarious.
Oh my goodness.
I got my own mic tonight.
Oh,
You
you
don't
did?
have to
Yeah, we're
slide it over.
upgrading.
Love it.
Upgraded. Yeah, your seat's too short for him. But
I'll try to sit up nice and tall.
Nice. Very good. Very good. Yeah, so Brian's joining us. Brian's the pastor over at H2O Church.
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are. Came fresh from some fifth grade basketball.
Fifth grade basketball. Watch out for the Bobcats this year. Yeah.
Coming at you.
Yeah. It's we talk about some of the things we're going to be talking about tonight with our fifth grade basketball team. Actually, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So, yeah, me and you've talked about this, but try to teach a little character building, life skills. So I've added a life lessons Thursday this season.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's really
trying to. I mean, we're gonna be there. We might as well, try to shape and mold some young minds.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Fifth grade, huh? How old's that?
That's my son is 11, so 10 or 11. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, might as well.
Mine as well.
That's when stuff really starts to take root. I can remember stuff from fifth grade sports.
Yeah.
And still, like the coaching back then, still I think helped mold me into high school and college and all that stuff. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really crazy how. I mean, that's not what we're here to talk about, but it is crazy how that me and James always joke that fifth grade basketball is my number one priority in life, So, yeah, but it is crazy how like it does. Sports have a way of like shaping you and molding you.
Yeah.
So it's fun. Yeah. Yep.
It's all how you use it.
It is. Yes, it can shape you and mold you. Sometimes probably in the wrong direction if you're not careful. So, yeah. So it's fun.
And so your perspective, because you're always coaching, is it if you're going to be there, you might as well be involved?
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, there's definitely some times where I don't, especially if like I know some of the other parents or I trust them and I feel like they're going to do a great job, then I'm happy to like not coach. But yeah, in general, if it's like, if I'm going to be there anyway, and especially basketball, that's what I played in high school and stuff. So I'm more qualified to coach that than some of the other sports. So
Sure.
Yeah. So, yep. As they get older, you kind of hand them off to other coaches, but when they're younger, it's fun to be able to do it.
Yeah. That's
Yep.
real cool.
Great connection to the community too, and being able to be around other families and kids, and it's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. So just came off that. My number one priority in life, fifth grade basketball. Just finished. Got my athletic gear on. These guys, you're gracious enough to push it back even a little bit tonight so that I could be here. So appreciate it.
Oh, man. Love it. Yeah, so we're going to dive right in tonight talking about action. Action to action, and how you need some of that goodness. Yeah, so we're looking at a passage in Romans. It's Romans 12, 6 through 13. And let's get into it. Paul says, in his grace, God has given us different gifts for doing certain things well. So if God has given you the ability to prophesy, speak out with as much faith as God has given you. If your gift is serving others, serve them well. If you're a teacher, teach well. If your gift is encouraging others, be encouraging. If your gift is giving generously, then give. if God has given you leadership ability, take the responsibility seriously. And if your gift is showing kindness to others, do so gladly. Don't just pretend to love others. Really love them. Hate what is wrong. Hold tightly to what is good. Love each other with genuine affection and take delight in honoring each other. Never be lazy, but work hard and serve the Lord enthusiastically. Rejoice in our confident home. Be patient in trouble and keep on praying. When God's people are in need, be ready to help them. Always be eager to practice hospitality. Yeah, man, I like it. This idea, right, is just, he says, never be lazy, but work hard and serve the Lord enthusiastically. I was just thinking, like, laziness is a byproduct of the lack of knowledge of purpose and vision. And without that, right, you just kind of wander around aimlessly and do nothing. And but the whole point is, right, that God gave us gifts and on purpose to use them. And it's our duty to employ them. So he's like, whatever it is, freaking use it. But this I think it's verse 11 that says, never be lazy, but work hard and serve the Lord enthusiastically. There's a few different versions. Like, this is in the NLT, I think. There's another one that says never be lacking in zeal, and in like spiritual fervor or something. But anyways, I checked out these words in the Greek, and it kind of blew my mind. So the verse goes, never be lazy, but work hard and serve the Lord enthusiastically. Well, that word lazy in the Greek means to be tardy, indolent, irksome, grievous, and slothful. Right, tardy and slothful, having the implication that we're required to show up somewhere. Like there's somewhere where you're expected, and if you're lazy and doing nothing, you're being missed. There's a hole that you're created to fill. And the idea of grievous, it's grievous when we drag our feet, or worse, like, totally neglect taking action and employing our gifts. So Paul says, never be lazy, right? Don't ever be that. And he says, instead, work hard. So this Greek word, work hard, it means speed, dispatch, eagerness, earnestness, business, earnest carefulness, diligence, forwardness, haste. Right? The implication being that we're on a mission. And that mission is so vital and so necessary that it must be executed with the utmost care and diligence. Right? And there's like, put some speed on it, right? Like there's this, it's urgent, like take action. And then, so it says, never be lazy, but work hard and then serve the Lord enthusiastically. And this enthusiastically, man, I was like, whoa, this is me. You guys might understand me a little bit more after this word. But the Greek word means to be hot, boil for liquid, or glow if it's a solid. To be fervid or fervent. Fervid means intensely enthusiastic or passionate, especially to an excessive degree, burning hot or glowing. I was just thinking, like, the byproduct, like that fervidness comes from this deep understanding of who you are and why you are, right? Like the fact that your gift is a solution to a problem. And so it's like, the more you see that problem and the more you discover that you're the solution, it's like the more that problem like makes you hot, right? Yeah. And it's like, and it's okay if maybe like some other people around you it doesn't make them as hot, right? It's you can tell where your direction is by like the stuff that, we'll just use that word, makes you hot.
You still got 3 left.
But yeah, because it's just like, you just think, you're like, if these people, if they knew what I knew, or if they could experience what I've experienced, man, it's like then they could be where I am, and not like it's a us versus them thing, but just in anything, like function over like malfunction. It's just like if I could just explain or present or somehow, serve up what I have so that they could taste and see function. It's like, that's that thing, that pursuit that brings in this earnestness. This haste, this forwardness, for action. Yeah. What do you guys think about all that?
I think it is if you've watched any of the podcasts, you might have seen some boiling, some passion.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think this one thing that is kind of not related, but kind of related, like sloth. Have you guys ever seen a sloth? Like the actual like animal? Yeah, they're crazy.
Sometimes you don't even know if they're like alive or if they're literally dead.
Yeah.
They're just so still.
I know. I watched this one episode of Planet Earth on a plane one time, and there was sloths, and I was just like, that is the most wild animal, and like it's unbelievable they can even survive. Like it's just crazy. So like the opposite of speed is sloth, because they're so weird. They move so slow. Like I was just fascinated with them. So that's kind of related, but kind of not, because they move really, really slow. So it's like, don't move so dang slow, Paul. Is like, don't be like a sloth. Like, have some, oomph to you. Yeah. But then I was also thinking, even just as you were saying, like, in some sense, it's okay for not everybody to have that passion about the same thing, because you even go back to the section of scripture, Romans 12, and it's like, hey, some of you are gifted to teach, some of you are gifted to encourage, some of you are gifted to be generous, and it's like, obviously in general, I would tend to say, like, God's empowered us with the same spirit, so we probably are going to have some overlap in what we're passionate about if, we're all on the same team. But then at the same time, like when you get down to the weeds of it, there's certain things that like just make some people just totally come alive. And then there's other things that's like make other people totally come alive. So yeah, I agree with that for sure. I think that's a good observation.
I think that's what's so neat about the way that God makes us and wires us, is that we do all have, and that's how like community and all that can become functional, is because we all have our thing that we're more passionate about. I mean, all working together, all for the same purpose, but something that, makes each person come alive. So then that really can make a community of transformation, because you have the different facets of people and the different things that, that they are passionate about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have like 16 random thoughts.
None of these have to do with this.
You can try to tie them all. But I guess that second paragraph where Paul's talking about like not pretending, I think it's easy to base everything off of just emotion. So it's like, don't just pretend to love others. Like we read about, okay, honor each other, put others before yourself, do these things. And it's almost like if there's no emotional reaction to any of that, then we must not be doing something right. So I think that second paragraph made me start thinking about emotions and just how like so much of it can't be, based off of emotions, especially if there's like something you're passionate about or something your gift is. Emotions can get in the way. Like, you can get these thoughts or these feelings of like, oh my gosh, that's going to be tough. Or, what are people going to think, or what, all these things. So it's like, I guess just not managing, but like being conscious of your emotions with all this stuff, and not just doing things just to do them, but figuring out, like sitting down and really figuring out like what lights you on fire, and not letting emotions dictate any of that. Just like laziness and slothfulness, it's like that all those things are based on emotions. They all get rooted back into emotions. I don't feel like doing this. I don't want to do this. Or somebody else will do it. I just want to do this. So it's all rooted back, and it's just, to me, it seems like so much of my laziness and slothfulness is rooted back into an emotion that starts with like, well, I'm just tired, or I don't feel like doing it. And so if you can control or at least be conscious of what your emotions are, you can start to kind of change how you react to those things and start to get into these things with passion, like he's talking about. The second thing was like that enthusiastic piece. Where he's talking about glowing liquids and solids and stuff. And I guess what I thought about there was just radiance. So when you get into something that you know you got to do, something you're good at, something you're passionate about, you start to become radiant. You start to actually fill this light of the world scripture. Because I think I used to hear that and be like, okay, well, how do I be the light of the world? You know, I'm not good at going out and just evangelizing to people. You know, I really don't feel like my light gets turned on with that. But I think like what you were talking about last Saturday and then tonight, when you go out and you prove function by doing something that you're passionate about, something that gets you lit on fire, I think you become like radiant, like what he's literally what is defined there. Like you become glowing, and that's like starting to fulfill the light of the world. People look at you and they're like, holy smokes, what are you doing in your life that I need in my life? And so all week I've been thinking about what we were talking about, or what I heard you talk about last Saturday, just like proving function. So when you prove function, you actually become like radiant, glowing and on fire, and people see that and they're like, holy smokes, whatever you've got, I need to have. And when you prove it through action and you prove it through your speech and all that stuff, people can't argue that. Like you can debate and have theology debates and all that stuff, but when people see you and they're like, okay, you have something different, you're literally becoming a light, and a light that can like light other people up too, because you're proving function. So that's what I thought and all that. But yeah, good stuff though.
Yeah.
Don't let your emotions be the root of what your hard work is and what your laziness is and all that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think it comes back to that knowledge of understanding of who we are, who God is, and what we're called to do. Mm-hmm. Because like kind of like you're talking about, like I don't feel it, or somebody else will do it, or well, if God really wants it done, like he'll get it done. And it's like yeah. That's why He gave you a gift.
Yeah, right.
Right. It's like there's people who are crying out for a solution, and I believe that it's like people are like they're crying out for a solution, and God's like, freaking, I have a solution, right? It's in Logan, it's in James, it's in Carolyn, it's in Brian. It's like it's in my people. And it's like this is the thing that creates this grievous is when the people with the solution don't believe they have the solution or aren't the solution. And it's like it's the use of that gift, man, that displays the splendor of God. Yeah, I mean, I wrote an article today. I think I got it here. What the title is, but anyways, it's essentially, the great controversy in the mind. Like this idea of like every single one of us has the sense that like we are called to greatness. Like your life matters. You've got something that matters. You picture the future and you freaking matter. Like you're affecting change. You're creating something, building something, and it's legit, right? We've all got that. But then there's this like idea of like, all right, if you were to ever consider like what it would take to do that, it would take everything you have, right? It would take giving your whole heart to it. It would necessitate commitment, diligence, discipline. It would, for you to become, to develop, to grow, to mature, to be able to realize like your vision, it would necessitate a reshaping of your time, the way you used your time, waking up early, right, to maximize more time, what you did in the evenings, right? It would all be geared towards learning and growing and networking and creating new relationships, building whatever it is that's inside of you, and then actually deploying it, like using it. So it's like that, to actually tap into that greatness, it would necessitate a shift of your entire life, right? So with that, then the great controversy is there's this giant fear, because on one hand you're like, I've got this thing inside of me that's like, it's gonna be good, but then there's a lot of people, and I've been here and whatever, there's this other thing where it's like, No, maybe that's the flesh. Maybe that's arrogance. No, if I do this, what if I'm actually, what if I'm trying to gain my life? And that's the thing, right? Or what if somehow, if I really commit to this, is this somehow going to take me away from God? So there's this great controversy between this thing that God put inside of you to become great, and then this massive fear of, I feel like this thing that I'm called to be is the thing that could take me away from God. And then that controversy kind of renders us useless because it's too high of a cost to kill your relationship with God, right? But at the same point, there's this thing that keeps rising up because freaking God put it there. And so due to incorrect information, it's just like, whoo, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And so it causes you to be lazy and slothful and seek out entertainment because it's just like that's easy. I know it's predictable. I know what's going to come tomorrow, right? I can do the same things, keep getting the same results. Like it speaks of safety and security. Mm-hmm. But in the end, it's really, there's this bill that's incurring. Mm-hmm. And at the end of it, it would be too expensive to pay. But it's not because anybody longs to be slothful, right? Like people get in that, we've all been there, whatever. But like you're there and you're like, freak, there's something more to my life.
Right.
But then there's still this controversy in your own mind, in your own soul. And I was just thinking about, we talk a lot about this, but it's like, there's a lot of people who lead the world with inventions and innovations and business and science and government, right? Who don't believe in God. And they're literally shaping the world. I mean, they're creating inventions that we're all using and like, we wouldn't know what to do without them. And just this idea of like, it seems like the people who are tapped into God, who created all things, should have an upper hand in everything, right? Like in function, in business, in education, like we should be leading the world. And I was just thinking, like, what's the big difference between, somebody who changes the world and then somebody who lives in the world that somebody else created? And I think that the tipping point is that the people who change the world, like, give themselves permission to go all in. Like they give themselves permission to dive so deep into knowledge and understanding that they come up with these just massive insights that then they apply and it revolutionizes the world. Where it's like the people who don't change the world don't have less ability. They just were never able to commit to giving their whole selves to it due to fear. But it's like it necessitates your whole self. Paul tells Timothy, he says, give your whole self like to these lists of duties. Paul, right? As we'll get in a second, right? It's like he gave his whole self to his call, right? And he considered his call more valuable than his life. And he proved that even with his life. But yeah, just this great controversy of like that slothfulness comes due to just the lack of knowledge of just the value that is you, right? I mean, just the fact you're talking about like the many members, one body, many members, many parts, every part vitally necessary. It's like people walk around being like, well, I'm not as special as them. I'm not as good as them. I couldn't do that. No, you freaking could if you took the time to develop it, right? It's like, that's the only reason why anybody else got anywhere is because they took the time to develop it. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about all that?
I'll go back to the, like, what's the scripture where it's like, where he does say like, whoever gains their life will lose it. Whoever loses their life will gain it. Mm-hmm. That's that right? Yeah. Okay. So I was just thinking about that as you were talking. I think, and maybe I'll just say about, because maybe somebody else thinks this way, but I used to think like that verse meant like, okay, I've got to have a low self-esteem, low self-confidence, this idea that like, okay, if I'm not liking what I do every day, then I'm doing it right. Or if I hate what I do every day, I'm doing it right.
Wow.
But it was like that. It was like, okay. It was like, okay, I need to.
I'm miserable. Doing good today.
Doing good. That's what I thought. That's what I used to think.
Yeah.
But that's why I took that verse. But then I was kind of thinking, just as you were talking, and I was thinking like, I think maybe to me like that means like when you lose your life to gain it, you believe in something that, you know, may cost you your physical life at some point, but then also you do something that's going to cost you, you know, that is going to cost you, you know, things, your time, energy, money, resources. So anyways, I was just thinking about that when you mentioned that. I started thinking about that, but I used to think like that verse meant, okay, I've got to really think low of myself and be miserable, and then you know, maybe I mean I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
But really I think so. You know, obviously I've changed since then, but just that idea of like, you know, thinking about what does that scripture really mean? You know, one, believing and having a faith in something that could literally cost you your life in a life or death situation, but also like doing something that it is going to cost you regardless. So you're going to lose something when you go into something that you're passionate about, or that you called to do. You're going to lose, maybe, you know, you're going to give time to it. You're going to give money to it. You're going to give your resources. And it may not look the same for everybody, but you're going to give something when you go after, you know, whatever it is you want to go after. So I was just thinking about that verse when you brought that up.
Yeah.
But don't believe the first.
Yeah.
If you're
The more
miserable,
miserable
there's
you
some-
are, the more in God's will you are.
Yeah.
Is that,
That sums it up, right?
yeah. No, there's a lot there that you said. So I'm trying to keep up with all of it, but I think there's definitely, I mean, some good takeaways in terms of the just reality that like God has given us these passions within us, and there's nothing wrong with like pursuing those passions and that desire that He's put on our hearts, you know. And it's kind of like working, you know, we're down in your basement, you know, they can't see it, but you know, there's a lot of weights around here, you know, and it's like that. It's kind of like working out. It doesn't mean that there's not sacrifice and pain involved, but there's a purpose, you know, and there's a goal in the end, you know, and that's to bring glory to God and fulfill the vision that He's, you know, implanted within you. And that does look different for every single person, but and there could be some pain at times, but there's also like a reward at the end of it, you know, which is the beautiful part of being on His team, you know. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, that's where the vision comes in, right? So without vision, man casts off restraint, right? And so restraint being like discipline and holding a course and this and that, right? So without vision, you wouldn't have restraint. Without vision, you wouldn't hold a course because you're not on a course, right? So it's not like I got to read the Bible, otherwise God doesn't love me, or I got to do these things, otherwise what you like chasing after righteousness. It's like, no, I can see like, you get the glimpses of how big of an impact you could have. And if you really want to have that impact, it's going to necessitate a ton of work. Like just because you have a dream, a big misconception would be like, it'll just happen. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Right. If you wanted to lose weight, it's not just going to happen. If you want to get strong, it's not just going to happen. If you want to get a new job, it's not just going to happen. Somebody's not just going to call you up and say, hey, we never heard about you, but we'd love to have you come. Right. It's just like, it's going to take a ton of work. Grant Cardone talks about it. He's like, look, even if you have the best product that will change somebody's life and you offer it for free, nobody will take it because nobody knows about it. Right. Like it's going to necessitate a ton of action to be able to create what you're going to do, which is going to necessitate a ton of learning, right? I mean, Miles Monroe talked about he'd read 4 books a month, right? And this guy's traveling around. This guy wrote friggin' a ton of books. It's just like, it costs something. It costs like your comfort. It costs like sitting on the couch, like binge watching. Like that's just like, that has no place in your life. When you come to this point, it's like, okay, this kind of all in 100% committed it's going to necessitate everything you are, like that you use all your time. I'm not saying that there's not time for rest or whatever. I'm just saying, depending on how big and hot and wide and bright you want to create a fire, like your action will determine what happens. Right. So, yeah. And even with the whole passion part, right? Like, don't be confused. It's not like even though you're doing what you love and you're doing what you're called to do, it doesn't mean that everything's like warm and fuzzy. It's like, it actually it takes a great deal of focus to create what it is you picture in your mind. It's really easy to dream. It's like becomes quite challenging to like turn it into a reality, but it's okay that it's challenging.
Yeah.
But it's going to necessitate action. It's going to necessitate discipline and diligence and perseverance and persistent insistence. The thing won't come out of you, and you're like, I insist you come out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the thing I keep thinking about is just that plan. And, it's like even with your own day, it's like I can wake up and not have a plan for my day. And then that like creates laziness, like, cause I didn't have anything I would like plan to do. I didn't have like priorities. And so it's like almost when you have less going on, you can become lazier, or it just like, so just that plan. And so like, whether it's your day or whether it's like some big dream, it's like having the plan in place, knowing where you're going and you've committed to it. And so then it just kind of forces the action instead of like, I don't know where I'm going. I'm just going to sit here. Or, like, I feel like I literally have days with that where it's like you kind of just get into that, like, and you can even get depressed over that because you're just like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And you can just shift into that mode of laziness. But it's like if you have a plan, whether it's your day or your life, which, hopefully for your life, but it's like when you know where you're going, then that necessitates action. It is harder to sit in laziness when you literally know where you're going, because you see the steps that need to be taken. I mean, obviously you have to keep the motivation going, but
yeah. I was thinking too of that. I think it's a Dallas Willard quote where he says, God's grace isn't opposed to effort. It's only opposed to earning, so like sometimes people think, well, it's like, ministry, for example, like, it's just, it doesn't really matter like what we do. It's just all about God's grace anyway, and of course, in a certain sense, that's true. I mean, God's grace is all encompassing, but then on the other hand, it's like, no, the grace doesn't mean that we don't have to take action, that we don't have to put effort into the calling that we have. It just means we didn't earn it. It's, you may have this amazing vision for your life, or your ministry or your business or whatever. And you think just because you did a certain action that you deserve a certain result, well, that's when you can kind of get into trouble a little bit. But if you're like, no, I'm partnering with God on this vision. So there is this reality of like, there will be effort and sacrifice and all the things that we're talking about. But I don't own what I deserve or the results of that. I can shoot for a certain result. I can obviously, pray for a result, and have a vision for that. But at the end of the day, I didn't earn it. I put effort into it. So I always like that quote and think about it a lot in ministry, because it can be tempting to just say, it's just all God's grace anyway. So just,
whatever we just show up.
Yeah, just show up and float into it, and whatever happens. So yeah.
Pretty good at floating.
I think that's where it's like we have a role. Like we have a specific role. It's not just like we're all floating around and God's going to do what he does anyways. Like our effort matters. What we put into action matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, too. So the plan. Yeah. And then like the execution of the plan, right? So like discipline being the thing that would actually create progress, like discipline in action, where it's like you show up one day and then you don't show up, for another week or whatever. It's like when you only show up when you feel like it, it's just like you're never going to make any progress. Well, it's like, people are like, well, it's all about the journey. Well, it's like, yeah, there's a journey and a destination, but you're on the journey to get to the destination. So it's like we're seeking progress. So it's like without discipline and without a plan, without some vision, it's like you can just scatter energy everywhere and you feel like, and you feel exhausted, but it's like you made no impact.
Yeah.
Because it's like you didn't do anything specific. and you weren't working towards a goal. I mean, I think it can get a little weird when you're like, it's like, okay, we're going to go out there. We're going to make get 10 people saved. Right. So you make people pray some prayer or something. You'd be like, okay, we, and it's like, no, that's not it. It's like, those are weird goals, but goals of all right, we're going to create this program and we're going to promote it as hard as we can, consistently and persistently. And we're going to see how many people we can bring in to create these relationships. Right. And intentionally cultivate, but it's like, the actions we're taking are going to then produce, what's the opposite of anonymity?
What does that word even mean?
Nobody freaking knows you exist. Awareness, people, awareness of what you're doing, what you're about, right?
For sure.
But, yeah. So for action, right? Like getting off the slothfulness track and getting into it and kind of stepping up to like the great controversy, right? Like, okay, it's in me and maybe and maybe we're even working towards it. But it's like, all right, it's time to jump in. It's time to take action. It's time to throw caution to the wind. It's time to put your reputation, just throw it out there. Right. I'm not talking about being unethical. I'm just saying, who cares if you go and you fail, if you try and it didn't work and you're like, okay, crap, whatever. Like, it's just keep adjusting, keep working it out. So I got just like a life hack, an action hack, a tip, trick, a little process to just get you in some action.
I'm ready.
All right. So let's say, right, you got an idea, you got something, you got whatever, man. I mean, you got a business, you got a product, you got a service, you got a gift, you keep thinking about this thing, and whatever it is you're trying to build, you've been cultivating in your mind, but you're having a hard time getting that baby on paper or creating it or doing whatever. All right. What do? Well, you don't want to sit around and wait, in the idea of perfectionism, like it's got to be perfect before I can do it. Perfectionism is a counterfeit to excellence, right? It's
that's good.
It ends up.
That's tweetable.
It ends up. I don't even know what a tweet is. It ends up being an excuse for never taking action, and it's not that would be like what you're setting out to do on purpose, but it's literally, man, like over and over. It's like, okay, I can't get the exact picture in my mind on paper. I can't get the exact words to flow exactly how I mean, so then I don't do it, right? Because it's not perfect, I won't do it. Oh, so then days, weeks, months, freaking years go by and nothing's ever accomplished, right? So this is that lack of progress because there's a lack of action due to the lack of, perfection. Well, perfection's not even a real thing. It's all about being able to work it out. Mm-hmm. So what do you do then? When you got something, it's mostly cultivated in you, but you can't get it out on paper. It's time to create an environment that demands action, right? You got to burn the ships, if you will. You know what I'm saying? You got to put yourself in a sticky situation. So it goes like this, man. You got to freaking sell it. You got to sell the idea. You got to sell your program. You got to sell your service. Even though it's not all done, go and sell it to somebody. Convince somebody you got it and sell it. Because what that's going to do is it's going to demand action, right? It's going to put you in a position because now it's not just, you're not just fighting with an agreement with yourself. Like, no, okay, today I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write it. Oh, I'm not creative, so I'm just going to give up. It's now between you and somebody else. It's like, all right, you think about your reputation. You're not going to be somebody who sells something and whatever. You're going to sell it, and then you're going to produce. So you got to sell it. And you got to put yourself in a situation that demands action. All right, so there's 3 keys to make this process successful. Key number 1, you got to get sold and stay sold on what you're doing. Right? You got to be able to sell anything to somebody successfully, you have to be sold on it yourself. If you're not sold on it, you're just trying to get money, it's not really going to work. But when we're talking about, right, Paul's talking about your gifts, you got to get sold on the fact that you have a solution to a problem and you're the person for the job, right? So in this arena, doubt is not your friend. So do not, under any circumstances, entertain it. Don't give it the nice seat on the couch. Don't feed it. Don't talk to it. Doubt is not your friend. So we get sold and we stay sold, right? This is where kind of like you're talking about, Carolyn, where it's like sometimes it's easy to forget what you're doing and where you're going. This is where you put it up on the wall. You put up the things that are just going to continue to cause you to think and cultivate on action, on ability, on call, on the expectation of greatness over your life. So key 1, get sold and stay sold. Key 2 is you got to do whatever it takes to create and produce whatever it is you sold. So you just got to dive in and do it. There are no excuses allowed. You don't get to tap out. You don't get to crap out. You only get to take action right here, right now. Right? And then step 3 is you got to deliver. Right? You got to show up and then dominate in whatever it is that you said you were going to do. You know, when David had to sell Saul on his ability to kill Goliath, right? He talked to Saul. He said, bro, don't worry, I got this. Saul was like, are you freaking kidding me? He's like, you're a kid. He's like, this man has been a warrior since he was a kid. He's like, there's no way you could do it. David's like, bro, you don't even know, right? So this guy sold it hard, right? You know, over opposition. I mean, he straight up said no. He's like, no. I've killed the lion. I killed the bear. This guy's like, looks just like one of those guys. So David not only sold it, but then he went and did it, right? Straight up went out, killed him. Bam. Yeah. What do you guys think about those?
I love the perfection thing. What was the thing you said again? Is the tweetable thing?
It's perfectionism is a counterfeit to greatness or excellence. Excellence.
Yeah. Whew, that's good. Because I think I am not a perfectionist at all. And I think that's helped me a lot in life and ministry. But I definitely have seen a lot of people just really get just so, immobilized by this idea that everything has to be completely figured out or perfect or, whatever before they, again, we can talk whether it's ministries or business or, even just a relationship, we have to have everything perfect before I could propose to this girl, all these different things.
Yeah. That's a real one.
Yeah, for sure. And so it's like just the perfectionist mentality, I think, can really, really stifle growth in people sometimes. So I like that. But God calls us to excellence, right? So, I mean, that's not an excuse to say like, oh, just, do whatever. It's fine. No big deal. No, we, in our ministries, we want things to be excellent. We want them to be done well. But we also can't wait around for it to be completely perfect before we ever take a step forward. So that was really good. That's not addressing your 3 steps, but that's what stood out to me about what you said. That was good.
In connection to that, just the thought, it's there. It just left me for a second. No, okay, it's back. I was thinking about.
It's never happened to me.
I don't know, something we've talked about before. It's like you want to be able to look back and be like, oh, we didn't do that very good, like that first time, but you did it. And so it's like you can't look back and see that like you improved. So it's like it wasn't perfect when you started, but you had to start in order to get it better and to improve. And so just that concept of not trying to get it perfect before you start. You have to just start, and then along the way you continue to refine, and that's all the journey. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
For sure.
Well, it's not even possible. In some things it's not even, you couldn't progress, right? Especially when it's other people. I mean, you need data. Like you need to produce something that's workable, that's good. It's like, it's just okay if it's not like every little thing's perfect, right? You're trying to make a business card. You just can't get it all. Or it's like, who cares? It's like, just give it to, they're just going to throw it away anyway. Just give, it's like, at least you did, you gave them something. It's like, even like a BT, right? Like the BT class, I knew from the get-go, I was like, all right, I've got enough content to just start something. And I know that if I just go do it with what I have and I keep doing it, I'm going to get better and better, and it's going to grow and it's going to expand. But if I never start, it will never become better. I'll never become more skilled. I'll never, like, I won't grow that ability if I never take action. So I had to create something to the best of my ability, even knowing like, it's like, whatever, I'm just going to go and do it.
Right.
Come what may. And then I'm going to do it again. And then I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to, like, this is that commitment where like I'm committed to succeeding. So I don't care, you know, if I totally bomb, good, great. Then go learn from that bomb and then go bomb a little bit less.
Right.
And then, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
it's like you can't
sure.
become better without collecting that data. It's like once you do it, then you can tweak it, you know, then you can add to it, subtract to it, rearrange it. It's like, but until you do it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. There's a lot of life lessons in there too. I mean, I think, you know, so one of my kids in particular struggles with perfectionism, you know, and it's like, and Sarah and I have tried to talk about what is going on in his heart that you're, and I think like at least on some level there's some pride sometimes, you know, of like, well, I don't want to look dumb. I'm not willing to pay the tax now of like making mistakes and maybe embarrassing myself a little bit, or maybe, you know, putting myself out there and it not going well, or, you know, so it could be pride. It could be, you know, it could be the opposite of pride. Could be, you know, just the insecurity or whatever of like, so there's usually an issue behind that. I feel like a lot of times too, that God needs to kind of root out of our hearts and minds. So, yeah.
Yeah, there is a tax. I like what you said. There is a,
The
like
dumb
literally.
tax,
No,
yeah.
you're gonna go out there.
Yeah.
And you're gonna. It's, you know.
Right.
Like you gotta be okay and secure enough to be like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And we can learn from other people. Like, it's nice when other people paid the dumb tax, and we can at least learn from them, and we have to pay a little bit less of a dumb tax. You're still going to pay your own, but yeah.
Well, that's where, you know, being dedicated to learning.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the end of the day, you know, if you want to be skilled with your hands, there's only so much reading you can do.
Right.
Until, like, you got to put your hands to it.
Yeah.
That plays into number 2. Do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
No excuses
Yeah.
allowed. Like, it's just action.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when you might mess up, but there's no excuses. You just do it again. Action.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, maybe you don't want to call somebody and you're like, oh, freak, you're in such a pickle. Like you forced yourself to get into every uncomfortable place. Like you've been hoping you were never going to end up. I mean,
Yeah.
this is how you produce growth, man. Growth is in the uncomfortable. So it's like when you put yourself in a position where it forces you, that's not wrong. It's okay that like you couldn't do it by yourself. So you create this environment. Why? Because you long so much to get into it. So you're doing whatever it takes to freaking live, man, and to grow. So it's like, you're like, oh crap, you know, you just do it. Do whatever it takes. Well, if I call this guy, maybe this is going to solve my problem. Boom. Do it. Whatever it takes. Maybe I got to read this book. Maybe I got to read 3 books in 1 week. Do it. Whatever it takes. I mean, it's like, I don't know what happened, but it's somewhere at some point there became this idea that if it's hard, you shouldn't do it. Like you're going in the wrong way. No, it's like whatever it takes. Like the correct perspective is like, no, I got it in me to accomplish this. I have it in me to kill that beast of a man. I have it in me to like live out the call on my life, right? So do whatever it takes to get it done.
It's good.
What do you think?
Yeah, I was thinking kind of like speculation versus preparation. I think a side effect of perfectionism is speculation, over-speculation at least.
Yeah.
There's a difference between speculating and preparating or preparing.
Preparatory.
Yeah, there's a difference between speculating and preparation. And I think, I mean, anything speculated is it hasn't happened yet, so it's not true.
Yeah.
So, I think so. A sign of perfectionism is speculating. I think I'm a little bit of a perfectionist because I speculate so much. I overanalyze, over-speculate. But it's helped me to kind of, I heard a podcast once on speculation and preparation, and that kind of always stuck with me. And you can kind of sit down and be like, okay, am I speculating or am I preparing for something? And if it's like trying to pinpoint a future outcome or something that hasn't even happened yet. You're speculating.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a point you got to prepare for certain outcomes or for a certain goal, but at the same time, speculation is a sign of perfectionism. Well, the other thing I thought about was just confidence. I think maybe in the Christian community, maybe not, but confidence is looked at as almost a bad thing, because people think about pride. They think about having pride in something. And it's like, no, you gotta kill your pride. You gotta kill your arrogance. No, you can't have any of that. But at the same time, if you're going to go through these 3 steps, it takes confidence in who you are as a person, confidence in who God sees you as a person, confidence in God, from you, your confidence in God to follow through on what he promises. So there's a lot of confidence, and it's not, it's not just, I'm not saying like have this overly high self-esteem where you do become prideful, but there's a difference between like arrogance and confidence. I think to get through these 3 steps, you have to have a level of self-confidence, confidence in who God sees you as a person, and then your confidence in God as a God to follow through on what he promises. And so that was kind of what stuck out about those 3. You've got to have confidence.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is the stuff that creates confidence, right? Experience. I mean, the only way you can create experience is with experience, so you got to get into it.
Mm-hmm.
But even with that, it's like, all right, well, let's just say you don't really have confidence. Dude, do it scared.
Yeah.
Do it scared.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to show up and shake terrified, or somebody's like, if you freaking got to crawl on stage, do it. Show up. Like, whatever it takes, just do it.
Right.
Whatever it takes, deliver. Do it scared. It's like, I don't want to make that phone call. Type in the phone number, hit send. You're committed, dude. Just do it scared. Do it scared. It's like, no, I got to wait till no, just do it scared. You're going to feel this terrible later when you still don't want to make the phone call. So just do it right now. It's just like, do it.
Totally.
Do it scared. Yeah. That's the only way to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think some like the speculation. I like however you said that, speculation or preparation.
Yeah, that was good.
Different things.
That's good. That's another tweet. Man, that's another tweetable. That's right.
Watch out, Brian's gonna have some.
Oh
good
yeah. Look for those in a sermon and coming sometime soon. Those are both good, and I'll claim them as my own.
Yeah. Do it.
I just had this great thought the other day.
'Cause I'm a genius. Yeah. Oh yeah, speculation. Like Grant Cardone talks about this. He's like, don't prematurely value anything. Like don't make a call, nobody picks up, but they don't call you back. Like don't value that. Don't think, oh my gosh, they're not going to call me back. Maybe I'm an idiot. I can't believe I called them. Oh, you just get all insecure. No, don't value. Don't speculate.
Yeah.
Don't picture the worst. Right. Another thing is, no, I lost it. Oh no.
Oh, it's contagious. There is one. There's speculation. It's like it's always negative. Like it's.
Oh yeah. There's never a positive.
Yeah,
There's
it's always negative, which is interesting when you're thinking about speculating. It's usually picturing a bad
usually
scenario.
Anything positive is preparation. Anything positive is preparation.
Yeah.
Usually, because you're aiming towards a goal, and usually that goal is you don't want to aim towards a negative goal.
But you do, and that's all you cultivate.
Yeah.
And then you wonder how you ended up there. But yeah, so then the other thing was take action fast. Like, so again, Grant Cardone talks about, because he's just always talking about action. So he's talking about like fear feeds off of time, right? So the more time you give something, the greater your fear becomes. So he says you want to restrict it of its source, which would be time. So just take action. So it's like to avoid the speculation. All right, make one goal. Okay, then just make another one. Like to stay sold and not to like hang out in doubt. Just keep taking action. Keep moving forward. If you put so much momentum in taking action and creating progress and doing whatever it takes to succeed, then you're not sitting around thinking you're going to fail. You're not sitting around like, oh crap, this isn't going to work. Oh my gosh, who the frick is that guy to give us this process? It's like, no, like it's like just keep taking action. He's like, you do so much, you don't have time. Or even if you get rejected or you get whatever, it's like you don't have enough time to sit and think about it because you're too busy taking action, which goes back to that haste, that the forwardness. I like this idea of forwardness being like your head and your shoulders, you're kind of leaning forward, and it's like that creates motion in your body, and it kind of goes like headstrong, head forward in motion, that earnestness to show up. Because look, man, ideas are divine solutions, and it's our responsibility to cultivate them into reality, right? Miles Monroe talks about this. He's like, God doesn't give you anything complete, right? It's like he gives you an idea. The reality is like God didn't give Adam and Eve tables and chairs, right? He gave them trees, right? They were in the trees, right? He said there was gold, but the gold was in the mountains, right? It's like nothing was ever complete, because it's like we're created to cultivate. And so it's like turning these ideas into action is part of function. It's part of who we are. And it's like that, again, it's like your gift is a solution to a problem. It's a fulfillment of a need, meaning there's somebody with a problem, and inside of you is that solution. And so cultivating that by taking action, by being diligent, by having discipline, by taking the time to flesh out a plan, doing whatever it takes, to give your whole self to it. I mean, in this, in Romans 1, Paul says, he's like, I got this great sense of obligation to the people in both the civilized world and the rest of the world, to the educated and the uneducated. He's like, and I'm eager to come to Rome, to you as well, to preach the good news. But he's like, I got this great sense of obligation. This obligation, I looked it up. It means to be in debt, like literally to like owe somebody. And an obligation is like it's a legal or moral like commitment to somebody. So God called Paul to reach the Gentiles. So Paul's like, I owe these people like the message of the kingdom. And it's like, he's like, he refuses to default on the loan. But in the sense, it's like what he does will determine who hears. And it's like, he's not saying like, I owe these people. It's like, it's not like just like a loose, empty word. And his life proves that. Like his life proves his belief that he literally owes these people an encounter with God. And so he would give his entire self to taking massive amounts of action to travel far and wide, go through beatings and whippings and stonings and shipwrecks and dangers here and dangers there, to then being killed, because he had this great sense of obligation. There was this urgency, this necessity. He's like, no, I am called here. He's like, I'm telling you this because it's the grace God gave me. It's like he's discharging his duties intentionally, not just like, he's not just waiting around for this opportunity to arise. He's creating the opportunity. He's getting in front of people. He's considering where he's going to go next. He's going to where the people are. He's doing it, man. He's taking action with urgency because he understands who he is, who God is, and where he's going. And that creates that hotness, that enthusiasm, that spiritual fervor. That, what is it? Let's see if I can find it. Yeah. That, oh man, where'd it go? Oh yeah. Intensely enthusiastic or passionate, especially to an excessive degree. Come on, somebody. Get excessive.
I like that, creating opportunity. It's like, it's not just handed to you. Like you do have to take effort to create opportunities. And I mean, that's what Paul did. Like he went to the right places to create opportunities.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much. Laziness. Ugh. If you're feeling lazy, it's because you lost sight of something.
Get rid of it.
It says never be lazy. Never. I could have looked that word up. I'm pretty sure it means never.
Not ever.
So in all you do, man, get speedy. You're dispatched, sent, called out on purpose with some forethought, some in thought. My good peoples. You were called, man, and you freaking matter. What's inside of you matters. And you offering it to people matters. Live your life like somebody else's life depends on it, because it does. My good peoples. Until next time, peace.